I've been all over Tubi. Like
Tubi is my jam too, Tom.
Yeah, so I mean, we talked about like Tubi is why we did Sid and Marty Krofft week, because I was like, whoa, all the Sid and Marty Krofft stuff is on Tubi. So I was watching all that. But they have a bunch of like the Marx Brothers movies, so I've been watching A Night at the Opera, A Day at the Races, and then it got me thinking about Phantom of the Opera. So I watched like the 1920s Phantom of the Opera.
Oh, right.
Which I'd never seen like all the way through. Again, I'd seen bits and pieces. It's so great. And yeah, it's like Carl Laemmle and stuff. So like there's these people who were like from like Dracula and stuff.
Like the universal aesthetic.
The whole, yeah, it's got the universal aesthetic. It's just like, it's silent. It kind of, predates, those more watched ones, but it's got every, like, and
wow.
the look, like the makeup is amazing. The staging is great. The reveals. And then, yeah, it's got like, it's got like the people with like the torches and pitchforks and stuff.
I'm going to check that out for sure. Like Tubi, it's like, I think people are starting to catch on now to Tubi's awesomeness, because I'm noticing some like articles in it getting mentioned more. Like I think Tubi is like becoming known.
It was kind of two things at once that got me hooked on Tubi initially. Was like they had the Adam West Batman, where it's like, okay, incredible. Thank you. Like I have the DVD of like season 1 or whatever, but it's like, okay, now I can watch like everything. And then the other thing was all the Shout Factory Super Sentai. It's like, okay, now,
awesome.
Because I have a couple of the box sets, but now it's like, okay, I can just watch everything, just, throw Jetman on or whatever.
I'm going to do lay some groundwork for the new Fall Guy movie.
That's a big day.
That's huge for the Total Recall show. But I'm going to start rewatching, I think the show's on Peacock, so
okay.
I think I'm going to tap into that.
Yeah, I got to see that first episode again, because I remember when that like first aired, and it's like he's got like the voiceover, and they're showing all these like scenes from like 1920s like Buster Keaton movies or something. So it's like, was Colt Seavers the stuntman on those?
Like I've been watching I've been seeing some clips. Looks like Ryan Gosling's doing a lot of his own stunts too. I like how he's starring in the Fall Guy movie, and he's like, he wants nothing to do with any stunts.
Yeah.
Watching on HBO Max, Conan O'Brien Must Go. If you watch
I need to watch that. Okay.
It's must watch television. Like I had watched those Conan Without Borders back in like 2015. This is amazing.
Love when he goes to like Cuba and stuff.
Dude, we gotta watch the there's one where he goes to Australia. It's cracking. He's dressed like fucking Crocodile Dundee.
That's a new one?
No, that's like an old.
Yeah, I don't think I ever saw the Australian one. I'll have to check that out.
But for the new one, I won't spoil it, but he cast someone as the narrator. Like he does the opening like monologue of the show. It's fucking hilarious.
I like when he goes to Italy and then he takes the guy to the Olive Garden.
In the second episode, they go to Argentina, and he visits with folks that like call in to his podcast, video call in. They've communicated with him in the past, so he's like, one day I'm gonna visit you in your home country. And the guy has some sons, and the son is like has to correct Conan on Rapunzel, and Conan does this fucking thing up and bites his hand. He's like, he's
that silk purse. Oh, if it was somebody else's wedding, sweet tonight. I don't want to binge the Fall Guy and then have the movie kind of come up short. Like maybe it's better to not have it so fresh.
When Carl Weathers passed, I watched the episode where Lee Majors played football with
against him. $6 Million Man, was it, or was it the Fall Guy?
It was the $6 Million Man.
$6 Million Man, yeah. Do you get those confused? Yeah. You're like, okay, when is the $6 Million Man gonna get in his pickup truck?
The $6 million guy.
Yeah.
The government thinks they've got a bionic man, but he doesn't want to lose his gig, so he just like rolls with it.
Now, they still haven't made like a $6 Million Man reboot movie. Like that hasn't, because I know at one point they were going to do like a spoof one with Jack Black.
Oh shit! I didn't know that.
Maybe it was Maybe it was a Will Ferrell one. Or
Oh,
maybe I'm merging it with the Green Lantern because I know there was gonna be a Green Lantern with Jack Black, and then they spent $1 zillion on that movie that never got made, and then they made the Ryan Reynolds one, and so that's why when the Ryan Reynolds one came out, it had like the biggest budget in history, and they're like, how come this movie has this massive budget, but you see like none of it on the screen? And it's because they're accounting for like all this money they spent on this like Jack Black thing that never happened, you know?
Wow. I wonder if there's any footage of the Jack Black one, or like that'd be cool to dig in on that.
Yeah, I don't think it ever got filming, but I think they spent a ton of money on like pre-production.
Have you seen Ronin with Robert De Niro? Did you ever see that?
No, I've never seen it.
It's on HBO. It's some good like after Heat De Niro. He's still like in his kind of, he's still in his.
It's pre-analyze this, or pre-Fockers.
Fockers. It's pre-Fockers De Niro. Where it's such a good John Frankenheimer.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a breezy spy movie. It's got Sean Bean in it. Stellan Skarsgård. Sean Bean. I've been reading Last Action Heroes, that book about the action movies. It's really cool. It has like a chapter on like each, like Stallone chapter and Arnold chapter.
Yeah, I've been reading a lot of like. There's a bunch of comics I like always wanted, so I kind of just picked up a bunch of like just like ordered a bunch of them online, and they're all these kind of ones that are kind of like sought after, and like when you actually go hunting for it like online, like because I'm always looking for it at like in like at stores and stuff. But when you go looking for it online, they're not as like out of reach as you might think. So I got Avengers number 100, which is like the Barry Windsor Smith Avengers, something I always wanted. And so I grabbed that. That really great, a lot of fun. I grabbed the first Walt Simonson Batman, which is really cool. And again, these things look really like I've read them in like reprints or digitally or whatever, but like they look so great on that newsprint paper. And then I got like an issue of Where Creatures Roam, where it's Bernie Wrightson penciling and inking a King Kull barbarian story. It's just really great. Ooh. And that kind of came out of when I was doing like the Micronauts series, Micronaut Monday. Like I kind of put it out there, like, who else drew like a comic book, like a regular sort of like, Marvel or DC comic, like before Michael Golden does issue 1 of Micronauts. Is there like any comic that looks remotely like this? So like in the comments, people were kind of giving their suggestions and stuff. And like one of them was like, the Wrightson Barbarian stuff. Take a look at that. And like, I do see it. Michael Golden still kind of has his own thing when he's doing Micronauts, but I can see like, okay, it's within the realm of this. Like it wasn't just like a completely unprecedented look in comics. There is a lot of Wrightson and specifically like those Wrightson stories. But and then also another thing was like that was mentioned was like the Mike Ploog Kull, the Mike Ploog Barbarian stories also, like where Mike Ploog inks himself, and like so I also grabbed one of those. So yeah, like so just kind of
sounds great.
Yeah, picking up some cool comics.
I was thinking about a Call the Conqueror movie because I watched Wayne's World and I was like, Tia Carrere is in Call the Conqueror.
These comics that I'm reading, like the Mike Ploog one, has Thulsa Doom in it. There's a lot of overlap between Conan and Kull. They were kind of two like very similar things that like Robert E. Howard was working on at the same time. And sometimes in the comics and stuff, they'll take like a Kull plot or whatever and like put it in Conan or vice versa.
Oh, that's neat.
And so it was cool seeing Thulsa Doom. And Thulsa Doom, we could probably do a separate video about this. I'd love any excuse to do more Masters of the Universe videos. But Thulsa Doom in the comics is Skeletor. Like he has like a skull face.
Shit.
Like he can make himself look human, but then when he's like in his like actual aspect, he's got like the skull face. So and I was kind of thinking as I'm reading this Mike Ploog Kull story where he's fighting Thulsa Doom, I thought like, what if I take this and just play around with the art a little bit and make it into a He-Man story, because he's got this axe. He's like fighting this army with an axe, and just like change it ever so slightly to make like the most like badass like He-Man comic ever, just by transposing this like Mike Plug comic.
When I created my first AOL email account, it was between it was gonna be like Thulsa Doom something, and then the other
Thulsa Doom 69.
69 420.
Yeah, Thulsa Doom. You're right. Exactly. Thulsa Doom OU812.
But I was like, this is gonna be sick. But then I ended up going with Sebulba from like.
Talk about two extremes. Yeah.
I chose like
Sebulba. Sebulba Bantapudu 69 at AOL.com.
Pod Racer for Life, LYFE.
The comics are so good. Like the novels are good. The comics are good, and then you have those great like Arnold, Conan movies, and then like everything else kind of just comes up short. You know?
Have you seen the Conan with Aquaman? What's his name?
Yeah, I have seen. I need to give it another watch.
I haven't watched that before. I was thinking about that. It was
all right. Yeah.
Looks like he hasn't put on all his muscle yet in that. He looks more like. I watched this great action movie. It's one of my favorite Clint Eastwood flicks. It's The Rookie. Have you ever seen that with Charlie Sheen? If you haven't, I can't recommend it enough.
Okay,
it's bananas. I had read the Shane Black Lethal Weapon 2 Play Dirty, like the sequel. There's an action scene that they didn't use from that. They like took the opening of that, like Lethal Weapons do like a cold open.
Yeah.
They used the cold open of that, made it the finale of The Rookie.
Oh, very cool.
So it's Warner Brothers, and like
I like that. It makes me think of these like people who like invent a magic trick. Like they come up with some kind of like gimmick, and then they like sell it to like magicians, to do. And there's kind of like an equivalent in like action movies where like somebody designs like a really cool set piece, and like maybe again, like you said, it doesn't fit into the movie, but it's like, this is a really good set piece. We gotta find an outlet for this like really cool set piece.
It's a chase where like they're getting chased on foot by an airplane at an airport that goes off the runway, and they're like they're trying to get run down by this like private jet. And I was like, oh yeah, this is familiar. I think I read this in his screenplay, but. It's so good. It's bananas. When we were talking about covering like the action movies of that period, we got to do The Rookie with Clint Eastwood.
Okay, I'll have to check that out. You've seen like the recent pictures of Clint Eastwood? They have like.
I haven't seen. Okay. How's he?
They also have like recent pictures of Gene Hackman and stuff, and they are kind of like they just don't look like themselves. Like they don't even look like, oh, here's an old version of Clint Eastwood, or here's an old version of Gene Hackman. Like they don't even look like that. They just look like, just like, okay, super random old guy. Random old guy.
I feel like Clint Eastwood was directing a movie like 2 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think he was still casting himself in like the lead of it.
You hear about these actors and stuff where they kind of give them like a temporary facelift when they need to be filmed, where it's like, they take tape and like, pull back their face and like tuck it under like a wig that is like, kind of like younger looking. So then they can kind of like through that kind of trickery approximate, like get them back to like looking the way, like so they're like somewhat recognizable as who they.
Because like in the last movie, I think he had like a orgy or 3-way or something. He cast himself in one of his movies. He's like. Going out on top.